Hello guys, welcome to a brand new video, and today I am finally going to be doing my newly updated version of my 2024 presidential election prediction. So I think it's going to be between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I think Joe Biden's vice presidential nominee is going to be Kamala Harris, just like 2020. Trump, it's a bit more confusing. He's obviously not going to pick Mike Pence again. Kari Lake, I would have expected him to pick her, but she is doing her Senate campaign in Arizona. So I think the two most likely candidates are Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, and Vivek Ramaswamy, the guy who's doing pretty well in the Republican nomination, in the Republican primaries right now. Ramaswamy is very similar to Trump politically, but I don't know if Trump would really want him on the campaign trail, I guess. I've seen he might not like him that much. I'm not entirely sure, but it would make a lot of sense for him to pick him. Kristi Noem would be a great VP choice for him, but she just recently had a scandal involving an affair, so I don't know if I could see that happening again. Granted, this is Donald Trump, he is the king of scandals, so it might not affect it. So, if you don't know how I mark states that I think will go one way or the other way, I use different color codings. So Democrats would be blue, Republicans would be red. Dark blue, like this color, would be Democrats winning the state by more than 15 points, or percent. This color is Democrats winning between 15 and 5%. This kind of like baby blue color would be Democrats winning between 5 and 1%, and this gray color would be Democrats winning by less than 1%. I normally call this safe or solid. I call this likely. I call this lean, and I call this tilt. So this would be like very easy to flip. This would be, kind of. This could flip, and then these two are fairly likely to. And this one is pretty much guaranteed to stay in this party's column. Trump, it's basically the same thing, or for Republicans, it's basically the same thing, except these are the different colors. So this would be safe, this would be likely, this would be lean, and this would be tilt. And yeah, so we can get started on the actual prediction itself. So first, I'm going to go over the Democratic states, which I think will be, which Biden will win by more than 15%. So California, Washington, Oregon, Illinois, DC, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Vermont, New York. These are all very solid blue states. Biden won them by safe in the last election, and I think it's pretty much guaranteed he will win them by that same categorization once again. One thing I should mention before I get too deep into this is also considering RFK Jr.'s third-party run, but while he's polling pretty well now, people tend to fall back into their political party's orientation, as you get closer to election day. So I think he's going to lose a lot of support. He's polling at like 25% right now, but I don't think that's going to hold on. We saw that with Gary Johnson in 2016. We saw that with Ross Perot in 1992. I think he's going to lose a lot of popularity and only get like maybe 5% in the election itself. So I don't think it's gonna, and since his appeal is pretty much nationwide, I don't think he's gonna have any strong effect on any particular state. So he's not gonna really be like affecting anything on this map. No offense to RFK Jr. Trump's states that will go to him by more than 15%. States like Idaho, Utah, North Dakota, standard ruby red Republican. territory. So, those are all the states that I think will go to either candidate by over 15%. I don't really even have to talk about these that much because it's pretty much already guaranteed. Except there's one new addition. The one state that you wouldn't normally think would be safe, but it's shifting to the left extremely fast, and I think it warrants going to Biden by more than 15%, and that state is, drumroll please, Colorado. Yeah, I know. In 2008, it was a complete toss-up state, and now it's solid blue. How times have changed. But just look at its recent election results, okay? It went to Jared Polis by like 19, it went to Michael Bennet by like 15, and, you know, Colorado's 3rd might go blue, Colorado's 8th flipped in 2022. Colorado is shifting to the left extremely fast, and even though it already went to Biden by like double digits minimum in 2020, so I think it's seriously likely that Colorado will go to Biden by more than 15% in 2024. All right. Our next category of states are states that I think will go to either candidate between 15 and 5%. And there are basically two categories in this. States that are like barely below 15%. So there's basically no chance that these flip. And then you have states that could go down to like lean. It really just varies. So my first state is, I'm going to be doing Democrats first and then Republicans. Maine's at-large vote. This and Maine's 2nd district could be affected by RFK Jr. since they do tend to really like independents, but I wouldn't really count on it. I think this is going to go to Biden by like, I don't know, 10 points. So yeah. I mean, it voted for Biden by like, I think 8 points in 2020. Yeah. So I also have New Mexico. I think this is going to go to Biden by double digits. You might say, and this is going to apply for Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Well, Sammy, what about Latinos? Oh, the big question, what about Latinos? I've seen so many people predict like a lean New Mexico, or, you know, even like in a red wave, New Mexico being more to the right than Virginia or like Minnesota, but no. Latinos in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas are very different to Latinos in Florida. Latinos in Florida are Cubans, which tend to be more conservative because a lot of them immigrated to the U.S. during Fidel Castro's dictatorship, so they tend to be more cautious towards something that calls itself socialism or anything, really, that's to the left of the center. And Republicans can easily use that as a fear tactic to get them to vote Republican, even if a candidate might not necessarily even be a socialist. So that's how Republicans were able to gain such a foothold in Florida. And also, there's retirees. But a lot of the Latinos in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Nevada came to the U.S. Not from Cuba, but from other Latin American countries. So they don't really have that same fear of anything left-wing that Florida does. Granted, Latinos are shifting to the right all across the entire country. However, it is not even remotely at the same rate as those from Florida did. New Mexico, and really all Latinos in this southwestern area of the U.S. will remain Democratic in the near future. So that's why I think New Mexico will be likely. I also have Virginia. Sure, they voted Republican in 2021 for the governor election. However, that was during a red wave year, and it is for a governor election. People are a lot less partisan during governor elections. That has become clear in states like Kansas that have voted for Democrats. And hell, even like a week ago when Kentucky voted for Democrats, voted for to re-elect a Democratic governor, Andy Beshear, in a ruby red state of Kentucky. So it doesn't really mean that Virginia is all of a sudden shifting to the right again. No. In fact, I'd say Virginia is shifting to the left. It was, I believe, lean in 2016, but by 2020 it went blue by double digits, and I think that trend will continue into 2024. Next, we have Minnesota. This state has been voting Democratic the longest out of any other state in the entire country. It has been voting blue since, I believe, 1972, which is like insane. That's 50 years. And I definitely think that trend will continue. Minnesota is like a D+5-ish state. They voted for Hillary Clinton by a lean margin, and they voted for Biden by, I think it was 6 or 7 points. It's also going to be helped by the Amy Klobuchar effect. She is extremely popular in the state, and she is up for re-election in the Senate race of Minnesota in 2024. So I think that could help Biden's odds, and I think he will win it by like 7-ish to 8 points. And the final likely state that I think Democrats will win in 2024 is the state of New Hampshire. This state, Hillary Clinton only won by like 2,000 votes in 2016, and then Biden somehow won it by like 8 points in 2020, and then Maggie Hassan, in a supposed red wave year, won it by like 9% in 2022, which is like crazy. Like this state was considered a toss-up even in like 2012 or 2008. So, yeah, I think the state is going to vote Democratic by like 6, maybe 7 to even 9%. Yeah, so that's it for the states that I think will vote Democratic for Joe Biden by more than 5%. Next, the Republican states. Oh, sorry, I completely forgot. Nebraska's second, which you might say, Nebraska? Are you on crack? But Nebraska's second is Omaha. Omaha, Nebraska is a city. It's Nebraska's biggest city, and it is shifting to the left. In fact, Nebraska as a whole is shifting to the left, but Nebraska's second voted for John McCain. It voted for Mitt Romney. It voted for Trump in 2016, and then all of a sudden it just flipped to Joe Biden in 2020 by like D+7. So I think it's going to go blue again by just as much, if not even more. They are a very, I guess, like moderate area, and they very much dislike Trump because of his extremism. So even though it is just one electoral vote, it is symbolic for the entire state of Nebraska and also its sister state of Kansas. So this is very important of a district to kind of check on whether these two states are shifting to the left. So yeah, that's it. Next, for Republican likely states, Montana. This state barely voted for Trump by more than 15% in 2020. However, I think it's gonna vote for Trump by like 14% this time around, mainly because of Jon Tester. Basically, what Amy Klobuchar did in Minnesota. Again, Jon Tester is the Democratic senator of the state of Montana, and whether he wins or he does not, which the race is really close, it will drive out Democrats to vote in Montana. A lot of them might sit at home and think, oh, well, my vote's not going to matter. We live in freaking Montana. Like, you think if I vote blue, the state's going to go blue? No. But there's an actual close race. In fact, there's two close races. There's this and Montana's first congressional district. So people will be driven to vote. Democrats will be driven to turn out and vote in November. So I think that will seriously help Biden bring the state to just under 15%. Yeah, I know, all of that just for it to go to Trump by like 14%. It's still Montana. Next, I have Nebraska's first. It is basically the outskirts of Omaha, so the same rule applies from Omaha, but here they don't really like Trump. It voted for Biden by less than 15. Oh, no, it voted for Trump by less than 15. It didn't vote for Biden. But it's not blue because it's not Omaha itself. It's like the outskirts. So it can't really go blue at all. Though it is shifting to the left, and I think Trump's going to win it by only like 13% this time around. Next, I have Kansas. Basically, the exact same story as Nebraska. Again, Kansas is shifting to the left very fast, like Colorado levels of fast. They voted to re-elect Laura Kelly, the Democratic governor of the state, for, I believe, a second term in 2022, and they voted to keep abortion legal in the state by, I think it was like 15% or something crazy like that. So yeah, this shows that Kansas is a very moderate state, and they're shifting to the left. And they were the only state of like Montana, Missouri, Mississippi, Utah, the states that are kind of like on the edge of the 15% mark, to actually vote for Trump by less than 15% in 2020. And I think that's going to happen again. So yeah, I think it's going to be like 12, 13%. And keep it on your radar, because in like 10, 15 years, who knows, maybe it'll be a swing state. Missouri, it shifted to the right very fast, and then it kind of stalled. It was like less than 1% in 2008, and then it just completely swung to the right. It used to be a bellwether, in fact, state. But it kind of stalled. It stopped shifting to the right, and Trump only won it by like slightly more than 15% in 2020. This is the same story as Montana and Kansas, except this one isn't like shifting to the left at all. It's just pretty stagnant, and I think it's going to vote for Trump by less than 15. Next, we have South Carolina. It's shifting to the left, but by a very slow amount. It voted for Trump by, I think it was like double digits, barely, in 2020. I think it was like 10%-ish, something like that. I'll put the actual percent on the screen here. But I think that in the future, it will slowly start to drift to the left, but not fast at all. And I think it's going to vote Republican by like maybe 10 to 9% in 2024. There's a ton of likely Republican states. We're only like halfway through. So I'm going to try and speedrun some of these. Florida. It voted for DeSantis by like 20%, which is ungodly. Miami-Dade went red by like 5%. That is like unbelievable. So Democrats basically have no chance in the state. You can even see in their funding numbers that they're starting to wane their support of Florida by a lot. So I think they just kind of let this one go. I'm going to be real. And it's going to go red. Probably, most definitely. And I think it's going to only go red by like 5 to 6%. The state loves Trump, and he can fearmonger Cuban voters into voting Republicans. There's also DeSantis' effect, and retirees going from the Rust Belt and moving to Florida. So this state is going to be like R+6, R+7. It's shifting to the right very fast, which is pretty big. It's 30 electoral votes. It's the third most populous state in the entire country. So yeah. Okay. We only have 4 left. We're almost done. So, Alaska. I think it's going to be like R+9 to 7. It shifted to the left extremely fast. Like I said with Kansas, it's basically Colorado numbers of shifting to the left. I voted for Mary Peltola for the House race in 2022. And yes, I know this is very different. She was going against Sarah Palin. But it shows that Democrats are doing a lot better in the state than they used to. This was considered an extremely safe Republican seat, and now Democrats have it, like, in the House. right now. So it's still Republican on average, but it's shifting to the left, and it already voted by less than 15 for Trump in 2020. I think that trend is going to continue, and it will vote for him by only single digits in 2024. Like I said with Kansas, look out for this. In like 5 to 10 years, maybe it'll become a big player in American politics. Who knows? Granted, it's only 3 electoral votes, so maybe it'll be the next New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire. Next, we have Maine second. This is probably the state that RFK Jr. has the best chance to win, but let's be real here, it's not happening. It loves Trump. I don't know why. It just kind of does. It voted for Obama by likely margins, and then all of a sudden it just flipped to Trump, and it's been Trump territory ever since. So I think it's going to go to Trump by like 7%-ish. It's basically like the bizarro version of New Hampshire. Alright, final 2 likely Republican states, and I can do them at the same time because they are basically the same state, Iowa and Ohio. These both, like Missouri, shifted to the right extremely fast after 2016, and they basically just stopped at about R+8. Democrats even got that down to R+6 in 2022, but I think they're just going to stay at R+8. Maybe Iowa gets to like R+9, R+10, but that's pretty much it. That's the most Republicans can do. That being said, I don't think Democrats have any chance of winning these. They're basically at the same level of Florida, where I would be unbelievably shocked if Democrats won these, unless Trump, went to jail or something. Which I'm going to make as a prediction pretty soon, anyway, because it's starting to be more of a possibility, I'm not going to lie, which is, crazy for American history as a whole. And now, we are down to the 8 states, which I think are the only states that have any chance of flipping in 2024. Yeah, these are the 4 states that I think will vote for either candidate by less than 5%, or these are the 8 states that I think will vote for either candidate by less than 5%, and I think these are the only swing states in the entire race. So, we have Nevada, Arizona, Texas, which I know a lot of you are surprised by, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I'm going to start things off with Republican lean states, so states Republicans will win. I think Republicans will win by between 5 and 1%, and there's only one, and it's Texas. So I know a lot of you are thinking, what? Texas? A swing state? Nani? Oh! But maybe that was an overdramaticism. But yeah, Texas is shifting to the left. I know, it's crazy, but tons of young people are moving there. Tons. It's one of the fastest growing states in the entire country next to Florida, except, Florida is growing with old people, no offense. Texas is growing with a lot of young people. A lot of young people are moving from the Rust Belt to Texas, as well as moving from California to Texas, especially in the large cities like Houston, Austin, San Antonio, places like that. El Paso, Paso, Pasta, I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry for anyone I offended. But yeah, I think this state, I would be shocked if the state went blue, but it's not as unlikely as a Florida or a Ohio. And I think if Trump is convicted, this state probably, actually, seriously, I know, goes blue. It voted for Ted Cruz in 2018 by only 3%. Yeah, 2018. And I know Trump is no Ted Cruz, but still, Texas is an extremely interesting state in how it is shifting and how it will affect the future of American politics, because it itself, by itself, is basically worth the same amount of electoral votes as Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, which is horrifying. Democrats could just win Texas, lose pretty much every other swing state, and still do pretty well. So this state, even though it might not go blue this time around, is shifting to the left very fast. I think Republicans should take note of that and stop pretending that it isn't, and seriously focus on it, because it is worth so much. So many people live here. Or there, I don't live in Texas. So, now for the Democrat states that I think will vote blue by between 5 and 1%. There's not many. The first one is Michigan. It voted for Biden by, I think it was 2.5% in 2020. I instinctively said 2024, but no, in 2020, it voted for Gretchen Whitmer, the governor, by like 11. Granted, that's because the Michigan GOP is horrible, but yeah, so people say that this state is shifting to the right, but it seems to be pretty stagnant in my eyes, at least. I think it's going to vote for Biden by about the exact same margin as it did in 2020. Again, this entire map would completely change if Trump goes to prison, but I'm going to cover that in another video because that is way too complicated for me to go over right now. Michigan tends to be the furthest left of the three main Rust Belt states, and I think that will become even more apparent in 2024. Next, Pennsylvania. This one I am very close on. I don't know whether it will be going to Biden by like slightly above 1%, slightly below 1%. I don't know. But the point is it'll be like hovering around that 1% range. Like, as of now. So things could change, but as of right now, I think it will go to Biden by around 1%. It voted for John Fetterman by 5 points, which is mind-blowing. It voted for Josh Shapiro by like 15. Granted, he was going against, I think, a Christian nationalist, Doug Mastriano. So, yikes. But even then, like I said before, it's a governor race. It's pretty different. The main thing that intrigued me was Fetterman winning by 5. That was a federal race, and it really shows candidate quality. Because, Dr. Oz was the Republican candidate. I know. That might be one of the weirdest elections in American history. So it really shows that the people of Pennsylvania really care about candidate quality. And I think after Biden declaring his support for some of the unions that were striking a little while ago, him even getting on the picket line, I think the state is going to support him more. And I think it's going to go to him by like about 1%. Yeah. And there are 2 more states that I think will go to Biden by a lean margin. They are Arizona and Georgia. So, yes, that means that as of right now, I do think that Joe Biden will remain the 46th president of the United States up to 2029. Yeah. Both these states are very similar in terms of like what they mean in federal politics. They used to be solid Republican, and then they very quickly shifted to the left, and they are continuing that. They both voted for Democratic Senate candidates in 2022. And but one distinction is Georgia voted for Brian Kemp, while Arizona actually flipped and voted for a Democratic governor, Katie Hobbs, against Kari Lake, which was a complete surprise. And which really shows that Arizona, much like Pennsylvania, really, really values candidate quality. And if your candidates are moderate, of which Trump is definitely not. And it also shows their love for the late John McCain, who Kari Lake and Donald Trump disrespected. And that kind of showed what happened in Maricopa County. And I think that is going to continue. I think Trump's not really going to care about what he says, and that is going to affect him poorly in the state of Arizona. So I think this will go blue by maybe 2 points. Georgia, I think it will go blue by around the same margin as Pennsylvania. I think Georgia and Pennsylvania will be the closest together in terms of percentages of any state, of any like lean to tilt state. I think these two are going to vote very similarly this time around. Georgia voted for Raphael Warnock, but they voted for Brian Kemp in the governor election. But yeah, that's just because he's a really popular governor. But yeah, I think the state is going to vote blue by about 1 point. It's shifting to the left very fast, just like Arizona. And yeah. So, final 3 states: Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Nevada. I think all 3 of these states will vote for their respective party by less than 1%, which is in itself a change from my previous prediction. So let's go. Which one should we do first? I'll do the ones that'll vote for the Democrats. Okay. So first, Nevada. Yeah, I think the state's gonna vote for Biden by less than 1%. It voted for It voted blue in the Democratic Senate race. It voted blue in the Senate race in 2022 by, I believe it was like 0.8. Granted, that was with a really good candidate. However, Trump does appeal kind of well to Nevada. And even though Latinos in the Southwest aren't shifting to the right as hard as in Florida, they are still shifting to the right, like I said. So I think these could really have an effect in Nevada. I do still think Biden is going to win it by about the same margin as how much it went blue in 2022. But, meh. I think it's not going to be by much. And we even saw that with the governor election, which flipped. It was the only governor election that flipped for Republicans in 2022, which kind of showed that, yeah, they can vote for the right. So, final 2 states, Wisconsin and North Carolina. I think these 2 states will be the closest to flipping of any state. I think there will be the most controversy surrounding these 2 states. Granted, this is a presidential election where Joe Biden wins. There's going to be controversy no matter what. Donald Trump's the other candidate. There's going to be controversy no matter what. But I think these 2 will be the most controversial. So let's start things off with Wisconsin. I think it's going to vote for Biden by slightly less than 1%, maybe like 0.5, 0.6. It voted for a Democratic governor in 2022. However, it did vote to re-elect Ron Johnson in 2022, so it's kind of a mixed bag. I do still think overall it is shifting to the right as a state, but I think Biden can keep that blue wall still and strong for 2024. Do not expect this to hold for 2028, though. Do not. I think Wisconsin will be the first of these 3 to break and vote Republican in 2028. Granted, if this is what your definition of a wall looks like, then yeah, this is the blue wall still standing, but I wouldn't call it that, which is why I think Democrats need to kind of like transfer a lot of their resources over from these 3 states into more populous and faster growing states like Texas. So that leaves us with the last state, North Carolina. This is the only state that will be changing from my previous prediction. I think this state will, well, if you see my previous prediction, you already know, but vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, I think it's going to be by a very, very small margin, only like 0.5%. But since my previous prediction, the country as a whole has voted in like recent polls, has sided more with Trump than Biden on a lot of issues, and I think that will be reflected in the election itself, where Trump does a bit better than I predicted last time. North Carolina itself has a history of Democrats getting so close to winning it and then not. The last time Democrats won it in any federal races was in 2008, where it voted for Barack Obama and it voted to oust Elizabeth Dole in the Senate race. That's the last time. But it's always that one state that Democrats are so close to getting, but they just don't. And unlike a lot of these Sunbelt states, isn't really shifting to the left that much, if at all. So I think it's just going to be in this weird limbo of slightly kind of R+1 states, but not really, kind of. It's weird. But for now, as things stand, nationwide, I think North Carolina will barely vote for Donald Trump. So that is my final 2024 prediction. Well, not final as in I'm going to keep this specific map up until November 2024. No, I'm going to update this because things will change. I can guarantee it. Some poll will come out. Something will happen. Who knows? Maybe Trump gets arrested. If so, prepare for a landslide, baby. But yeah, so that is my current Trump being not convicted prediction. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get 303 electoral votes. Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy get 235 electoral votes. And thank you guys for watching. One little thing on the end. You may have noticed that before I did not have any background music, and now you will be hearing the nice sounds of Zelda and Chill, a lo-fi video game soundtrack, I guess. Tell me what you think of it. Tell me if you find it distracting, maybe, or if you think it is calming and it adds to the video. So just let me know, and let me know if there's anything that you want me to cover on this channel that is politics related. It can be even an international election. I've been looking a lot into UK politics and French politics since I've just moved here. So just tell me what you want to hear. I will be reading the comments, and thank you guys very much. I'll see you guys in the next one. And Fred Armisen was the best SNL cast member. Toodaloo.